dear friends, dear civil service aspirants, wishing all a great day and welcome to Gallant IAS. Today, in this session, we will have a quick discussion on Indian freedom struggle. Perhaps in modern India, Indian freedom struggle or Indian national movement, that is the most important area you have to prioritize. In fact, from 2011 to 2019, if you check, from modern India, many questions being asked from this Indian freedom struggle or Indian national movement. So all the major events of Indian national movement, you must study well and you should enjoy it just like watching a very beautiful movie. Okay, just like a movie, just like a story, you approach this Indian freedom struggle. Don't ever tense that you have to study years, date, name of the personalities. Nothing is required. Try to understand Indian freedom struggle just like a story. Okay, so right from the formation of Indian National Congress, let's have a quick analysis, quick summary of this Indian freedom struggle. So let's start now. Yeah, Indian freedom struggle, Indian national movement, we start from the foundation of Indian National Congress. You should know what were the major push and pull factors contributed to rise of Indian nationalism. Then there is foundation of Indian National Congress, which was in 1885. Indian National Congress was founded. Yeah, you must know the causes behind the foundation of this or major factors which contributed to foundation of Indian National Congress. Yeah, the name A.O. Hume, a retired British civil servant. Yeah, he is a safety valve theory, and Lord Dufferin was convinced with his safety valve theory. Then Indian National Union was founded in 1884. Then 1885, the first session of Indian National Congress, W.C. Banerjee was the president, 72 delegates held in Mumbai or Bombay. A. Hume, Dadabhai Naoroji, Subramanya Iyer kind of economist or great nationalist participated. Then it was renamed in the same session as the Indian National Congress. Here you must focus the major objectives of this Indian National Congress when it was founded, the major resolutions it passed in its foundational session. Also, you should know what are the major theories related to the foundation of Indian National Congress. Safety valve theory is there, lightning conductor theory is there. So you should go through the major theories and their propounders. Okay, that part is important. Just to have a look into the questions, I selected few questions only. Yeah, the first session of Indian National Congress held where? This is the way UPSC asked you question. The first session of Indian National Congress was held in Calcutta. Second session of Indian National Congress was held under presidentship of Dadabhai Naoroji. Just to see, I'm not discussing the questions. In fact, in our classes, we have done it. So just to go through the questions, this is the way they ask the questions in the preliminary examination. Okay, so please focus. Yeah, different sessions of the Congress important. Their historical resolutions are important. Okay, historical resolutions are important. The presidents of the sessions, presidents of the Congress sessions are important. Again, you must know what were the major events which take part with the very foundation of this INC. Okay. Yeah, once you study this Indian National Congress and its foundation, then the next stage is we are getting into the three phases of Indian freedom struggle, which is moderate phase, extremist phase, Gandhian phase. Moderate phase, extremist phase, Gandhian phase. One more phase is there in between. Extremist and Gandhian phase, there is a revolutionary phase. So just try to understand what was moderate phase. They say it is from 1885 to 1905, can be called as moderate phase. Then there is extremist phase 1905 to around 1917 or 1919. You can call it as extremist phase. Then 1919 to 1947, this is called as Gandhian phase. So actually, the three phases you have to go through. In fact, Indian freedom struggle is well connected through these three phases. These three phases, moderate, extremist and Gandhian phases. So here moderate phase, Yeah, that is known for his constitutional agitation, extremist phase, known for his non-cooperation and boycotting. Then this Gandhian phase, known for Gandhi and Satyagraha. So what were the major events during moderate, extremist and Gandhian phases? Okay, that has to be studied very well. You know the features of moderate phase. Moderate leaders, English educated, Indian upper creamy layer representatives, obviously Indian intellectuals, and what were their methods of agitation, their constitutional methods of agitation, what were their major demands, major objectives, or what were their major activities, what were the major events happened during their time. All these things you have to go through. Their biggest contribution was economic criticism. Biggest contribution was economic criticism. Dadabhai Navroji or M.G. Ranade or Subramanya Iyer. So some popular economists are there. How they criticized, how they analyzed British economic policies, railway policy or their remittance policy or their export and import, their free trade policy or their annexationist policies. How these British policies, British rule, British administration, how it was analyzed by the moderates. Okay, so you see, when you think about the moderates, their biggest contribution was, they saw the seeds of this economic nationalism. Economic nationalism. And they convinced, they spread the awareness of this economic, systematic, organized economic exploitation of India by the Britishers in the form of salary, pension, incentives, or in the form of home charges, or in the form of these remittance to England, in the form of these raw materials, bulk raw materials from India, and selling of the finished products in India, one-way free trade policy, taxation policy, railway policy, and India's deindustrialization. So how these British policies, financial policies, industrial policies, or how these British policies, it bankrupted Indian economy, destroyed Indian economy, destroyed India's self-sufficiency. So they promoted economic nationalism, from which only India's political nationalism emerged. Okay, so go through their major demands. For example, reduction of this expenditure, reduction of the taxes, protection policy for Indian cottage industries, abolition of the salt tax, or this reduction of these land revenues, or proper assessment of land revenues, or this promotion of these Indian craft workers, Indian artisans, etc., etc. What were the major economic demands you have to focus upon? Just to look into the questions, this is the way UPSC asked questions from this area. Now the next, and here you will be focusing on the moderates, their contributions, the major achievements of the moderates, their major achievements, their limitations, and British response. Okay, and how they contributed to this growth of economic nationalism and thereby the political nationalism in India. That you have to focus upon. Next phase is extremist phase. When it comes to extremist phase, your focus has to be like this. The causes behind this rise and growth of extremism in Indian nationalism. Obviously, there are extremist ideologies. The difference between these moderates and extremists. Then what were the major events during this extremist phase, and what was the British response? All these areas you have to focus upon. This analysis is very, very important for your moderate extremist comparison analysis. What were the plus and minus of the moderates and extremists? This was asked in the mains examination also. So take care, this analysis has to be studied well. Then obviously major events during this extremist phase. What were the major events during extremist phase? Bengal partition. Lord Curzon and many of his reactionary policies. Lord Curzon himself is responsible. Maybe his University Act or Municipal Corporation Act or his annexationist policies or his divide and rule policy, his educational policies, Lord Curzon himself is largely responsible for the rise and growth of extremism in Indian nationalism. Okay, so major events during the phase: Bengal partition, then Swadeshi movement, anti-Bengal partition movement, Swadeshi movement, then formation of All India Muslim League, Surat split, then this condition during this World War I, then this Home Rule League movement by Annie Besant, by Bal Gangadhar Tilak, their causes and their consequences, then the Lucknow session and Lucknow pact. So what were major events which happened during this extremist phase? Just like a movie, different sequences of Bahubali, just to see, or maybe major incidents of a particular movie. That way you can approach this also. You can see how these extremists, what all these major events happened during this particular 1905 to 1919, what were the major events happened during this extremist phase. You have to analyze their causes and consequences. Yeah, causes and consequences has to be analyzed well. Lots of questions are asked from the causes, consequences, and the major personalities involved in these events. Okay, take care. Bengal partition, anti-Bengal partition movement, Swadeshi movement, All India Muslim League formation, Surat split, World War I, then this Home Rule League movement, Lucknow session, Lucknow pact. Okay, so this has to be analyzed very well so that you can score well from this area. The questions just I have shown you. Then there is a revolutionary phase. That was the most AK-47 phase, or that was the bomb cult. That is, force must be met by force. Yeah, their theme was like this. Yeah, force must be met by force. Okay, so revolutionaries. What was the role of the revolutionaries, or what was the reason for this origin of these revolutionaries in Indian national movement? Okay, so revolutionary phase, major revolutionary, revolutionary secret societies were there. Secret societies were there, revolutionary leaders were there, revolutionary activities were there in the Western India, Eastern India, or South India. Revolutionary activities were organized outside India also. For example, Ghadar Party. Okay, so these revolutionary activities, revolutionary organization, revolutionary leaders, major revolutionary activities. For example, Komagadamaru incident, or maybe how that further, boosted that revolutionary spirit in India and abroad. And further, these objectives of the revolutionaries, objectives or maybe aims of these revolutionary organizations, revolutionary leaders, and major events. Okay, major events, throwing bomb to this Bombay Legislative Council, or Central Legislative Council, or this Kakori train robbery, Lahore conspiracy, Delhi conspiracy, or this Kanpur conspiracy. So many events are there which you have to study well. Then there is Mahatma Gandhi, rise of Mahatma Gandhi in Indian politics initially. And before studying that, you have to study Gandhiji's experience in South Africa from 1893 to 1915. Okay, 1893 to 1915, Gandhiji's South African experience you have to study. Yeah, and of course, how that the South African experience transformed Gandhiji from an ordinary man to extraordinary mass leader. That you have to study well. And his inspiration, many literature, world literature and world writers inspired Gandhiji a lot. For example, Ruskin, Tolstoy, or Henry David Thoreau, such writers inspired Gandhiji a lot. Okay, that you have to study well. Then obviously the different phases of Gandhian movements in South Africa. His fight against racial discrimination, his fight against these native Indians in South Africa. His fight for these native Indians in South Africa. His fight was against British colonial government, British racist government. So 1894 to 1906, that was his moderate phase. He focused on constitutional methods of agitation. Then this 1906 to 1915, that was Gandhiji's passive resistance. That phase is called Gandhiji's passive resistance phase. You must have a proper understanding of Gandhi and Satyagraha. Okay, what is the meaning of this Gandhi and Satyagraha? You should analyze it very well. Gandhiji's two phases, moderate phase and this passive phase of his movement in South Africa, you have to study well. And his fight against that restrictions over this migration, Indian migrations, or his fight against that compulsory registration of Indians, compulsory registration of certificates, his fight against poll tax, his fight against that invalidation of Indian marriages, etc. So how he fought for the rights of these native Africans in Africa, South Africa, also how he fought for Indian immigrants in this South Africa. Okay, how he fought for these human rights in South Africa, how he fought against apartheid system, racial discriminations, etc. So you must go through these Gandhiji's major fights, activities in South Africa. Then rise of Gandhiji in Indian politics. Once Gandhiji's return Garvapasi to India, and after that Gandhiji's initial programs in India, then Gandhiji's localized movements. There you must study this Champaran Satyagraha, this Kheda or Kheda Satyagraha, Ahmedabad mill strike. When you study this, your focus must be, what was Gandhiji's stand? What was Gandhiji's stand on these Champaran, Kheda, Ahmedabad issues? And what kind of the strategy Gandhiji applied here? Okay, what were the major causes of these? What were the major causes of these satyagrahas? What were the major consequences? What were the major consequences or impact? And how it shot up Gandhiji as a Indian mass leader. Okay, you have to focus upon major, reaction from the side of the British also you have to go through. So this is very important for you. Then Gandhiji's rise as a national leader. Gandhiji's rise as a national leader. There you have to study. This Rowlatt Act and this Rowlatt Satyagraha. In fact, Rowlatt Satyagraha is the first event, nationalized event Gandhiji participated in India, or maybe that was the first Gandhian movement, started in India in a national level. Earlier, there were localized movements. Gandhiji's first mass national movement, obviously, Rowlatt Satyagraha. So you must study this Rowlatt Act, the factors behind the formation, enactment of this act. Also, you should know the major provisions of this act, and obviously why this Rowlatt Satyagraha was launched, what were the major demands of this Indian National Congress. Also, you should know what was the outcome. Okay, Rowlatt Satyagraha or Rowlatt Act, Rowlatt Satyagraha, that was resulting in this Jallianwala Bagh massacre. So you must know the causes, consequences of this Jallianwala Bagh massacre, and definitely, how it further intensified these anti-British feelings or anti-colonial feelings in every nook and corner of India. Okay, so Rowlatt Satyagraha, then Jallianwala Bagh massacre, then appointment of Hunter Commission, then obviously British attitude toward this Jallianwala Bagh massacre, and Indians' attitude approach toward this Hunter Commission report, etc. You have to go through very well. In fact, Jallianwala Bagh massacre, centenary celebrations, etc. we have seen. So that is a very potential question for your upcoming exam also. The next major event is Ncm Non-Cooperation Movement. You must know the push and pull factors of Khilafat Non-Cooperation Movement. Okay, that World War I, then abolition of this Treaty of Sevres, how it was discriminatory, and how it was like it hurted the religious sentiments of these Indian Muslims. Then there is formation of Khilafat Committee. Then there is merging with this national movement, and Gandhiji as the leader or president of this Khilafat conference. Then this Khilafat Non-Cooperation Movement. You must study what were the major push and pull factors behind non-cooperation movement, major events in the non-cooperation movement. Also, you should study that Chowri Chowra incident and the suspension of this non-cooperation. So that is important. Next event is Congress Khilafat Swarajya Party. Once the suspension of non-cooperation movement, Gandhiji was arrested and Gandhiji was jailed, and Congress leaders are confused. Some leaders say that they must continue with the non-cooperation and boycott. Some leaders say that they must contest the elections, and in the Legislative Council they must fight for this Swaraj or this self-government. So there is a split in the session. There is a split in the Gaya session of the Congress, Okay, split means ideological split, but it would not like not like Surat split, you know. Finally, it was like what is called reconciliated also. It was settled also. So Congress Khilafat Swarajya Party, which worked as the a political organ of this Congress, Indian National Congress in the Legislative Council. Okay, so you must understand the Congress Khilafat Swarajya Party. What were the reason for this rise of this Congress Khilafat Swarajya Party? You must know the differences between hardcore Gandhians or pro-Gandhians and these Swarajists. You must know their ideological differences, then the objectives and achievements and limitations of these Swarajists and non-changes that you have to study very well. Also, in this area, you must study, there is appointment of the Simon Commission and arrival of the Simon Commission. Arrival of the Simon Commission, 1928. Indian Statutory Commission that was to study the progress of 1919 Government of India Act 1919, and it is to propose the future Constitution of India. But the Simon Commission was rejected by all prominent national political leaders and parties, because no Indian was there in this Simon Commission. It was all 7 white member commission, total rejection of Indians. So here you study what were the backgrounds behind the appointment of Simon Commission, and obviously why Indians rejected this, and how the Simon Commission was treated in different parts of India, what all the major events happened during the visit of Simon Commission in India, and what was the report submitted by Simon Commission. Okay. Then there is also a Nehru report, which demanded for this dominion status, rejection of Nehru report. Then finally, we have seen, obviously the next round was a civil disobedience movement. 1930s, civil disobedience movement started. Before that, you can see there is Bardoli Satyagraha, anti-tax campaign, you can see. Then civil disobedience movement. Okay, so you could see that so many things you have to study here. Rejection of this Nehru report. When you study Nehru report, that was the first Indian draft constitution. Draft constitution by Indians for the first time. You should study the provisions of this Nehru report. Reasons for its rejections. Then after which the Congress chant. You see Lahore session of the Congress. Then the resolutions passed in this Lahore session. So many times UPSC asked questions from this area. So Lahore session and major resolutions you have. Then after which there is launch of the CDM. Then you must study the first phase of CDM. The first phase of the CDM, civil disobedience movement. Then major events during this first phase of civil disobedience movement. Okay, major events during the first phase of civil disobedience movement. Also, you must focus upon the first phase of CDM. Its major events. How was it reflexive in different parts of India? Then you must focus. There is Delhi Pact. Gandhi-Irvine Pact is there. Then there is round table conferences. First, second, third round table conferences there. Then you must study. There is Karachi session. Fundamental rights resolution, economic, national planning resolution, etc. past year. Okay, economic programs resolutions past year. So there is a Karachi session of the Congress. Then after which again, after this, in the second roundtable conference, there is communal awards. Okay, there is announcement of communal awards. Then there is Pune Pact. I'm not discussing them in detail. In fact, we have done in our classes in detail. So here I'm just giving you an idea what all the major events you have to cover in this particular module. Okay, so these things like Nehru report, then this Lahore session of the the proposals, provisions of Nehru report, dominion status and rejection, and further you see Lahore session of the Congress, major historical resolutions in the Lahore session, then the launching of the CDM, first phase of CDM, major events, then Gandhi-Irvine Pact or Delhi Pact, major provisions of Delhi Pact. Then after which there is first, second, third roundtable conferences, Karachi session. Then this announcement of communal award by Ramsay MacDonald. Then there is Pune Pact. All these things you have to go through. Then there is the second phase of civil disobedience movement. This you have to focus upon. So CDM is very, very important part. Civil disobedience, the first and first and the second phase, which you have to focus upon. It's very important. Then comes this socialism, Indian socialism. You see, 1930s. 1930s is known for this rise and growth of socialism or a left-wing socialism within the Congress, even outside the Congress also. So you must study what were the factors contributed to rise of the socialist ideas or socialist movements in India in 1930s. Then the rise of this communist party in India. All these things you have to go through. Major peasants movements, major trade union movements, Kisan Sabha movements, etc. You have to go through here. Government of India Act 1935, the major provisions of this act. Then 1937, that provincial legislative assembly elections, okay, provincial elections, that is in 1937. Then formation of Congress ministries, and what was the rule performed by, or what was the government performed by, governance performed by Congress ministries. Then there is growth of Indian socialism, growth of trade unionism. Then there is different peasants movements during this time, trade union movements, Kisan Sabha movements. All these things you have to go through. Especially Government of India Act 1935, major provisions of this act, and what was the responses of Indian National Congress, Muslim League, Indian Liberal Federation, and different political parties to this 1935 act. Why this act was rejected. All these things you have to go through. Then another particular module is, that is Indian princely states, state people's movements. The relation between these princely states and British government in India. You have 1740s to 1765, there is a struggle for equality among these princely states of India. 65 to 83, policy of ring-fence British followed with these Indian princely states. 1813 to 1857, subordinate isolation. 57 to 1935, subordinate union. 35 to 47, equal federation. So you just have an idea. Initially, British struggled to maintain an equality with these princely states of India. They were so rich. So British struggled to maintain a equality or a equal status with these princely states of India. Then how they, from time to time, how they changed their policy with these princely states of India. All these concepts are very, very important for you. How these British adopted their policies towards these princely states of India, how they changed from time to time, that you have to study very well. Then princely state movements are there. Princely states movements and the Congress approach toward these princely state people's movements, etc. You have to go through. Peasants movements are there, like peasants movements during 1920s, 1930s, etc. Ega movements, Mapla rebellion, or this what is called Badoli Satyagraha, Kisan Sabha movements are there. Then after World War II, many peasants movements like Tebaga, Telangana movements are there. You have to go through. And then you are coming towards this Indian national movement from 1939 to 1942. You must study what were the major events happened from 1939 to 1942, especially during World War II. How was this Indian national movement? You see, August offer, the causes, consequences of August offer. August offer, it's a major offers or major provisions you have to go through. Individual Satyagraha, major reason for individual Satyagraha. August offer failure, then there is individual Satyagraha, and then there is Cripps mission, arrival of Cripps mission, post-dated check, on a clashing bank or crashing bank. So you see that what was the Indians' approach toward these Cripps mission proposals? What were the major proposals of Cripps mission? Why this Cripps mission was appointed? Okay, internationally, nationally, what were the causes behind this appointment of Cripps mission? Its major proposals, and why it was a failure, why it was not acceptable for Indian National Congress and Indian Liberals and All India Muslim League, and what was the Indians' approach, okay, and what all these events happened after this failure of Cripps mission. All these things you have to focus upon, okay, and the next part we will be doing in the very next session. So this is the order you have to follow in the Indian freedom struggle, and the rest we will be discussing in the very next session. Stay tuned. And you study this Indian freedom struggle according to this particular order. Okay, please do subscribe our channel for more videos and watch all the sessions which being released here. That will definitely help you to score well in your history in the upcoming prelims examination. Thank you.